and olive barrows.
And welcome to the very first day of September.
Right, September the 1st, incredible.
And we have a great show for you, Kamakar.
We do,
Yeah.
and I was asking you when we were walking in, your team, and you told me your team is Chelsea.
Yeah.
So you drew with Crystal Palace.
Yes.
So you're fine tonight.
We're cool, we're cool.
We're cool?
What to a Man U?
I don't know about Man U fans.
Guy.
Tricky.
Guy. You're Man City?
Yes, I don't follow football, but you insisted I pick a team.
I did.
Yeah, so
you picked well.
I picked Man City.
You picked well. We have a great show for you tonight, folks. Start tweeting at Queen Jeff.
At Burrows at Citizen TV Kenya.
The hashtag
Sunday Live. And we have a guest, though, before we get
We do. Ambassador Martin Kimmans, all the way from New York City, talking about
Mila's AU bid.
Kenya and the world.
Exactly.
It should
Kenya
be good.
And the world.
Yeah, he's a very established diplomat. He's been in the business for many years.
Yeah, right now he's in New York,
And
but he was there still as Kenya's permanent representative to the UN. And
UN.
prior to that, director of counterterrorism,
Correct.
special envoy.
He's been around.
Yeah, he has a lot to say.
Excellent. Let's do that, folks. At Queen Jeff.
Again, at Burrows at Citizen TV Kenya.
Hashtag
Sunday Live.
Sunday Live begins right now.
Tonight.
Tulipata ripoti saa 9 usiku kuna ajali inatokea huko Meru, na tukapata habari kuwa msichana wangu na mtoto wake waliaga pale.
From parents' visit party to funeral arrangements, shock and pain as 12 members of a friends group perish in a road crash at Nithi Bridge in Meru County.
Traders, residents counting losses. Tens of businesses, residential houses reduced to ashes following a gas explosion in Gara.
The schools are not running and they are not going to run. Yes. Stupid power.
No deal, no classes. Post-primary school teachers stay put, pointing another week of learning disruption in public schools.
I want to ask our young leaders to be measured when they speak about their community wakiwa nje kwa wageni.
Na usikubali kuuziwa uoga ya kuwa kuna kiongozi mwenye anaweza mobilize eneo moja ama nyingine ataitenge na Wakenya wengine.
Uneasy and divided. Mount Kenya leaders resume their regional rivalries in disregard to call for unity by the president.
And welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yulan Zale. Now, tonight, we begin the bulletin with a very, very sad note. Now, the death of 12 people who lost their lives in an accident at the notorious Nithi Bridge in Meru County on Saturday night.
The 12 were in a group of 20 women who had attended a parental blessing event at their friend's home in Meru County and were on their way home in Rongai, Kajiado County when the accident occurred. Our reporter Gatete Njoroge reports.
Dejected faces is what ushered us to the home of Anne Jerry in Gataka, Rongai, Kajiado County. Family and friends gathered at the home hours after receiving the sad news that Njeri and her 1-year-old daughter Gladys Muihaki were among 12 people who died in a road accident at the Nithi Bridge black spot.
Friday tulikuwa na Njeri akaniambia anaenda grupu huko Meru, walikuwa naenda mahali kunaitwa Kariene, Tukaachana na yeye kama wataenda the following day. Wakaraukia asubuhi wakaenda huko Meru, wakaenda wakafanya occasion yao vizuri.
Tulipata ripoti saa 9 usiku kuna ajali inatokea huko Meru, na tukapata habari kuwa msichana wangu na mtoto wake waliaga pale, na sasa tuna shida kubwa.
What hurts most is the fact that the late Njeri, a member of the Vision Group, was among 22 people, including 2 children, who had visited the parents of one of their members to seek parental blessings. What started as a happy moment for the group ended in tears as 8 out of the 20 members perished in the road accident.
Our matatu was the first one to veer off somehow, but the driver was able to control it, so we went back to the truck. And then the matatu, the 10-seater behind us, which had 10 people and 2 children. So he came to overtake us, and he ended up losing control and veered to the other lane of towards Meru, and came head-on collision with a Hilux pickup.
Nzasu says it took the efforts of police and firefighters to retrieve the bodies of their friends after the accident, which left 12 people dead, including 2 children. 2 survivors who sustained injuries were rushed to Chogoria Mission Hospital and Chuka Referral Hospital.
This is a place where there is proper marking, proper road infrastructure all through, right from when one approaches this spot, either from the Nairobi side or from the Meru side.
Following the accident, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has directed the Ministry of Transport to fast-track plans to upgrade safety measures along the bridge, which has for years claimed lives. A case in point was in July 2022, when a bus plunged into River Nithi, killing 34 people.
I have called the PS, ile mumeona nimetoka nje, Engineer Mbogwa kutaka kujua hiyo ahadi rais wetu alipeana. He has told me that the designs are almost complete. Nimemwambia siharakishwe haraka, so that we come and honor that promise to the people of Meru and save lives.
Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Properties worth millions of shillings were destroyed in Nairobi's Ngara estate when fierce fire consumed tens of businesses and rental houses.
That's right. Now, the fire, which started in a food works factory kiosk, quickly spread to a nearby gas supply station, triggering powerful explosions that devastated over 30 businesses and several residential units, including a car garage and a bazaar filled with vehicles. Our very own Willie Lusige has more.
These were the horrifying scenes at Desai Road in Nairobi's Ngara area in early hours of Sunday morning. Massive explosions from a gas filling station sending large fireballs into the sky as thick plumes of smoke darkened the horizon. Witnesses say the fire started in a nearby food kiosk at around 5:28 a.m., possibly triggered by a transformer malfunction. The flames then spread to a nearby gas supply station, causing further explosions as gas cylinders ignited.
Kasikia mlipuko ya kwanza, ya pili, nikaanza kupanda kufika hapo ikazidi.
The fire quickly consumed a nearby car garage and bazaar, leaving nothing but the charred shells of vehicles in its wake. Business owners were left counting their losses, while residents lost all their households.
Mitungi ililipuka, na hiyo mtungi ikilipuka ilikuja ikaanza, ikilipuka inaangukia gari, ikianguka inaangukia gari, so ilishomeka. Gari zilikuwa mingi, zingine zilijaribu kuwa kuseviwa, zingine zikatolewa nje, na zingine zilikuwa na kitu kama cut off, haionekani fuguo, Kuna shida ya kustart, hizo sasa unaona zimeshomeka.
Initial assessments suggest the fire impacted 30 businesses and more than 10 residential units, with the full extent of the loss yet to be determined.
Niko nafanya delivery ya fruits. Sasa kila kitu yangu yote, document, ID, nguo, hakuna kitu nimeokoa kwa nyumba hata moja.
Sunday's fire in Ngara has reignited concerns over the safety of fuel and gas facilities in densely populated areas. This coming just a few months after a gas-related tragedy in February when gas explosion in the Mradi area of Embakasi claimed at least 3 lives and left over 280 people injured. There are growing calls for strict regulations and swift action to prevent such disasters.
Watu wa firefighter wamekuja, I think 2 hours later, but according to the report which I get from them, wanasema they are not aware of the incident.
Serikali mimi naweza sema ni waangalie mambo ya gas sana. Gas kwa sababu hii place imeshomeka juu ya gas. Si gari imeshomeka, ni gas imeexplode. So gas inafaa iwe mahali inauziwa ni mahali ambaye pamepitia ile njia zinafaa kupitia.
As business owners count millions in terms of losses here in Ngara, they are also calling on the government to put in place measures and restrictions in regard to gas and selling points so as to restrict such kind of infernos. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Ngara in Nairobi.
All right, on to education talk. And learning in secondary schools across the country will remain paralyzed as the teacher strike enters its 2nd week.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary School Teachers, and that is KUPPET, National Governing Council, says the strike remains in force despite a court order, and they faulted the Teacher Service Commission for failing to listen to their grievances. Brenda Wanga has more detail.
1 week after the post-primary school teachers downed their tools to participate in a national strike called to agitate for the realization of a slew of demands, the National Governing Council of their union, KUPPET, gathered in Nairobi to review the progress thus far. Their resolution remains unchanged.
That the schools are not running and they are not going to run.
Yes.
KUPPET power. For the next 1 week.
Yes.
Even beyond.
Yes.
The teachers this time have vowed to stay at home.
Yes.
The highest decision-making organ of the union says the Teacher Service Commission has refused to listen and engage them with the aim of finding a solution to the strike that threatens to derail the preparation for Form 4 candidates set to sit the exams at the end of this term. The union says that the government has moved to implement the 2nd phase of the 2021-2025 CBA, but maintains the rise is not sufficient.
So even the actualization of these payments you're talking about, some of our members in the National Governing Council who are in job group C3 and C4, so a marginal increase over arrears totaling to 1,050. So that is how marginal that increase is. The teachers who have gotten more are likely to be in the lower job groups, and it has been subsumed in the tax regime of 2023.
Aside from the pay hike, the teachers also acknowledge the gains their strike has accorded them so far, including the commitment by government to hire JSS teachers and to properly remunerate teachers serving in acting positions, but they still want action in promotion of teachers.
Because it now ceases to be industrial action, it is now a struggle. The teachers of this country, yes. It is now a liberation struggle.
Yes.
Yes, it is we have been pushed too much to liberate ourselves.
Yes.
The teachers cautioned parents not to release their children to schools, as the union and its members will not be held responsible for their safety and well-being of the children for the duration of the strike, which they insist will only be called off when a return-to-work formula is reached. The teachers and their employer, TSC, have so far failed to find common ground that would see the strike called off, with the TSC going to court to have the strike suspended, where the union says the court orders have been overtaken by events as they were acquired while the strike was already underway.
Did Did you hear that, Jeff?
Yeah, the dancing and some of that.
Yeah, and tunataka pesa?
Pap.
President William Ruto has described his Nyanza tour as miraculous and one that has turned sworn political enemies into brothers and sisters.
Now, the president, who attended a church service in Bungoma town today, went ahead to reassure those who elected him in the last election that the inclusion of the opposition into government will not in any way disadvantage them, saying the national cake is enough for all to eat.
And as Emmanuel also reports, the president called on those opposed to the unity to embrace it as it is good for the nation. The head of state departs for China tonight and his first trip out of the continent since the Gen Z-led protests started about 3 months ago.
Fresh from his largely successful trip to his political nemesis Raila Odinga's Nyanza bastion, President William Ruto landed in Bungoma County Sunday morning, one of the counties where he enjoyed a massive support in the 2022 general polls. The president, who attended a church service at the Anglican Church of Kenya, Bungoma Diocese, terming the newfound unity in the country as a testimony of the wonder-working broad-based government.
The people who were on extreme sides a few months ago, today we are speaking as though we are very long-time brothers and sisters and friends. That is the beauty of our country, that when circumstances demand, we close ranks as a people, we forge alliances as a people, we build bridges as Kenyans, and we work together for the greater good of our nation.
And alive to the murmurs in his own camp, with concerns that he was extending the handshake above the elbow, the president said the national cake was big enough for all, putting on notice those who are sowing seeds of discord in the country.
I know some people, ask questions. What happens to us? Those of us in Bungoma who voted overwhelmingly for this administration. This country, God designed it in a way that all of us can belong. And whatever is in Kenya, if we work together, we can bake a bigger cake that all of us can be satisfied. Those who want to preach to us sectarian, ethnic, parochial, regional politics will not succeed in this country.
I was with you in Nyanza, Your Excellency. The excitement that we saw in Nyanza, our people in Western, tujipange pia. Lazima tujipange. Politics is about competition.
And after being grounded for about 3 months now, the president announced he was jetting out of the country again to attend the 9th Forum of China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, in Beijing, China. The summit will bring together African heads of state, Chinese leaders, and the African Union Commission to discuss and strengthen Sino-African relations. This will be the president's first trip out of the continent in about 3 months, and only the second in the same period after his visit to Rwanda on the 11th of August, following weeks of fighting the Gen Z-led protests.
Leo baadaye nitasafiri kwenda nje ya nchi. Nikaona ya kwamba kuna kazi niliwacha hapa ikifanyika ya stadium, na niliona nipitie hapo ndio nijue kama nitaenda kutafuta pesa ingine ya kukamilisha hiyo stadium.
During his visit to Bungoma, the president inspected the Masinde Muliro Stadium, promising to complete its construction to make it a world-class pitch to host several local and international games. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All right, still on politics, and Mount Kenya political leaders are back at political bickering yet again. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is accusing young leaders in the region for what he terms as tendencies to wash the region's dirty linen in public.
But Majority Leader in the National Assembly and Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimmans Ichung'wah has dismissed the DP and asked him to stop tribalism. and kingpinship to alienate the region from the rest of the country. Kamau Mwangi reports.
Fresh from a 4-day Nyanza tour, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was on Sunday dusting off his shoes in his Mount Kenya backyard. With him, a heavy heart over the return of the Mount Kenya supremacy battle, pitting him against young leaders from the region, led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimmans. The DP disturbed over the return of a battlefront that remains sore to the eyes and ears of the public, which had taken a break following youth-led protests in mid-June.
I want to ask our young leaders to be measured when they speak about their community wakiwa nje kwa wageni. Hata kama iko shida nyumbani, hiyo ni mambo ya kupeleka nje. Hata kama mamako ako na macho moja na umeenda ugenini umepata msichana mrembo, you don't go to talk ill of your mother to please the mother of the girl you want to marry.
Pronouncements by regional leaders as late as Sunday, pointing to a return of the Mount Kenya kingship tussle, an issue that isn't quite sitting well with Gachagua.
Usikubali kiongozi yeyote wakati wewe unaongea mambo ya umoja wa wananchi wa Kenya, mwingine aongee mambo ya kutenganisha wananchi wa Kenya. Usikubali. Na usikubali kuuziwa uoga ya kuwa kuna kiongozi mwenye anaweza mobilize eneo moja ama nyingine ataitenge na Wakenya wengine.
Please be like other communities. I've never heard watu ya huko Luo wakitukana Raila. Not a single one. Sijasikia mkale jinata moja akitukana William Ruto, jinata moja akitukana William Ruto, hata moja akitukana Kalonzo. Hapa kwetu tu ndio watu wanadanganywa kutukana kiongozi wao.
While taking issue with accusations that he was not content with what the region was getting, bearing its 47% stake in the Kenya Kwanza administration, the country's number 2 maintained that it is now up to him and the president to fulfill pledges they made to the Mount Kenya populace.
Actually, in matters gratitude, it is the other way around. It is President William Ruto who owes us gratitude. Atufanyie kazi, si ndio? Zile barabara zilianzishwa na Uhuru Kenyatta amalize. Mambo ya kahawa, majani chai ipate bei.
While reminiscing his grand reception in the Nyanza region, Gachagua called on the Mount Kenya region to embrace Raila and forge new friendships with leaders who've before been touted as enemies of the region.
Uzuri, watu wale ambao wanakuwa wanasaliti jamii, in a population of 13 million, they are less than 10. Never again shall this community of ours ya Mount Kenya itachukia mtu yeyote ama kuwa na shida na mtu yeyote katika Jamhuri ya Kenya. Sisi yetu ni kutafuta marafiki.
Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leaders are ripping into the new university funding model, branding it a punitive measure against Kenyans who are already struggling to put food on the table.
That's right. As university students across the country prepare for mass protests starting tomorrow, Monday the 2nd, the new model has been condemned as a discriminatory barrier to their higher education. Let's get more from our very own Melita Oletenges.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya principles have thrown their weight behind university students who have questioned the new university funding model's practicality as clamor for nationwide protests starting Monday continues to grow. The leaders are adamant that the funding in its current form is a disaster, threatening to deny children from vulnerable families access to higher education.
Mambo ambayo hawezi kukubalika kama hiyo muundo mpya wa kuelimisha watoto wetu katika vyuo vikuu. Sisi tulisema hiyo doesn't work.
Mambo ya elimu tusipoyachunga, basi watoto wetu wengi hawataweza kwenda shule. Mjua kwamba yale ambayo yalianzishwa na Mheshimiwa Kibaki wakiwa na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, free education ilikuwa isaidie watoto wote.
The leaders also criticized President William Ruto's proposal to arm the National Youth Service recruits, calling it a dangerous strategy to suppress those with dissenting opinion.
Hii inatupa wasiwasi kama wananchi. Risasi zile zimetumika ni nyingi
na sasa tunataka tuongeze bunduki na risasi kwa zaidi vijana wetu wa NYS. Ni jambo ambalo la kusikitisha.
The idea of National Youth Service was not to create another military force, lakini ni force ya kusaidia ujenzi wa Kenya.
On the political front, Kalonzo accused Ruto of using his recent visit to Nyanza and his political maneuvers with Raila Odinga as mere tactics for the 2027 presidential elections. Kalonzo vowed to counter Ruto's plans. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
Place of worship.
All right, another news across the country. And a middle-aged man from Kilera village in Igembe North hacked 4 people to death on Saturday evening after he ambushed them on their
farms.
On the farms, eh?
Yep. Confirming the incident, Igembe North Sub-County Police Commander Bernard Bitok revealed that an angry mob then lynched the man said to be mentally disturbed. Bitok, however, called on residents to exercise restraint and allow the law to take its course. The bodies have been moved to the Maua Sub-County morgue pending an autopsy.
Habari ambaye ningepitisha kwa wananchi ni ya kwamba wasije wakachukua sheria mikononi mwao. Ikiwa jambo kama hilo imeripotiwa kwa serikali, ngoje uchunguzi ipatikane ama ifanywe ndio tujue nini chanzo la hiyo mauaji ilikuwa ni nini.
And in other news, famous businessman and former owner of Mombasa Cement Company, Haksmuth Patel, has been cremated in accordance with Hindu traditions in Mombasa.
The late tycoon was seated in a special casket for a funeral procession that started at Pandya Hospital and which snaked its way through several streets through the coastal town. Hundreds of residents thronged the streets of Mombasa to bid goodbye to the billionaire philanthropist whose body was taken through 5 temples in Mombasa, where he was revered for his contributions to their construction. His family explained that the unique seating of the deceased symbolized his enduring presence among them, signifying that he remains with them in spirit.
Thank you for coming here, all of you gathered here to pass on the condolences.
Hasu spent close to $1 billion transforming Kibarani on behalf of the people of Mombasa. Obviously, as a politician, they say, "Mimi nimefanya," but Hasu helped greatly in transforming and, of course, beautifying Mombasa.
I will be making a proposal that we will have a road in Mombasa named after the late Hasu. And I will be making a proposal that we will equally be having one of our ECD centers that houses children living with disability to be named after Hasu, so that the name of Hasubai can be able to live longer.
All right, on to health issues. And the Ministry of Health says it has tightened surveillance in airports to contain the spread of the Mpox virus.
Public Health Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni, who was on an inspection tour of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Sunday, says travelers coming into the country will be required to fill in a health information slip that will be key in contact tracing in the event of suspected cases of Mpox.
Now, Muthoni assured that all points of entry in the country will be properly manned to screen travelers who are jetting into the country. The ministry has also confirmed a case of Mpox, or 4 cases of Mpox, with the samples of a resident in Garbatula in Isiolo County, still pending testing.
And kindly do not circulate material or information that is not verified until when the Ministry of Health will pronounce themselves about a case. Please do not circulate information that may cause panic for nothing.
All right, on that note, let's take our first break here on Sunday Live. Let you know there's plenty more ahead, including an interview. One-on-one interview with Ambassador Martin Kimani.
Yep.
He used to be Kenya's High Commissioner to the UN, right?
Yes, permanent representative.
Permanent rep?
Yep.
Now he is, look at his title, what a title, Executive Director, Center on International Cooperation at New York University.
You went there?
My alma mater.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
okay.
yes. So it should be interesting. We'll talk about the AU, we'll talk about Haiti, we'll talk about Kenya's position in the world, right?
Yep. And what lessons he learned in those positions that can aid us now.
Absolutely. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff.
At Burrows at Citizen TV Kenya.
Hashtag is Sunday Live. Sunday Live takes a break. We'll be back in the meantime. Coming up. Coming up, we tell you what it will take to secure the continental seat for Kenya's candidate. It is exactly 36 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Sunday Live here at Citizen Television. Now, with the election of the next African Union chairperson just 5 months away, Kenya officially unveiled its candidate, that's right, Baba Raila Odinga, on Tuesday at State House in Nairobi.
In the presence of her neighbors, Odinga outlined his vision for the continent as President William Ruto's administration presented him as the best man for the job. But how is Kenya approaching this election 7 years after Cabinet Secretary in Uhuru's government, Amina Muhammad's loss? What will success or loss mean for the country? It was pomp and ceremony at the official unveiling of Raila Odinga as Kenya's candidate for the position of African Union Commission Chair.
Benefit of every nation.
In attendance, heads of state from the region, former heads of state, ministers and ambassadors. All protocols observed.
From today onwards, the candidate will intensify his continental engagements by traveling far and wide to present himself to the leadership of African states.
We don't want to see Africans to be divided as anglophones, francophones, lusophones. I want them to be Africaphones.
Raila Odinga, a fixture in Kenyan politics, now seeks to make his mark on the continental stage as AUC chair.
I'm not going to be very active in Kenyan politics henceforth, as I continue now to focus my attention on the continental campaign.
Odinga is a man who has been a candidate in many a campaign, and ascending to the AUC chairman is not a challenge he or Kenya appear to have taken lightly with the formation of a campaign secretariat.
I was myself pleasantly surprised that Kenya government said they would support me. I was expecting them to say no. I don't know the reason why they said yes.
Raila Amolo Odinga has got the requisite experience. As I said in another forum, he has seen both hot and cold. And Africa is beaming with both hot and cold.
But the bid for AUC chair has been described as more of a steeplechase than a marathon, with several hurdles to overcome. Among them, the recognition of the Sahrawi Republic, which is considered among factors that contributed to Amina Muhammad's failed bid to ascend to AUC chair in 2017.
My name is Raila Amolo Odinga.
The Israel-Palestine divide is another minefield, and Kenya has opted for neutrality, if not strategic vagueness. The last time Kenya bid for the AUC chair position, it was confident in its candidate's chances. Amina Muhammad, however, later shed tears when it emerged that some of Kenya's neighbors did not vote for her. Kenya accused of arrogance and a disjointed campaign led by a ministerial team as opposed to seasoned diplomats with a grasp of the inner workings of the AU. Given it's now the 14 member states' eastern region's turn to chair the commission, Kenya takes another run at the AUC chair. The election 5 months away, scheduled for February 2025. But between then and now is a live televised debate where the candidates take questions from the continent at large. But ultimately, the rubber will meet the road when heads of state and government assemble in Addis Ababa to elect the chair and deputy chair by secret ballot, where for one to win, a 2/3 majority of the 55 member states eligible to vote is required. Odinga is up against Djibouti's Foreign Affairs Minister Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, former Mauritanian Foreign Minister Anil Kumar Singh, and Richard James, former Foreign Minister of Madagascar. Yusuf of Djibouti is, however, considered to be his strongest competitor.
Oh. Nice package there.
No, thank you.
Well done. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Joining us live from New York City, the veteran diplomat. He has a CV that...
Veteran already?
Yeah, well,
is he that
he's been there,
seasoned?
He's been there for a while, and he has a CV that's extremely impressive, right? Ambassador Martin Kimmans, he is now the executive director at the Center on International Cooperation at NYU, New York University. But you have his CV. Go and read it.
Yes, let's take a look at his credentials. As Jeff has already covered what he's doing now, but he's also an Institute of Global Politics Carnegie Distinguished Fellow 2024 to 2025. Prior to that, let's take a look at what he's managed to accomplish for the country. And he was Kenya's permanent representative to the United Nations between 2021 and 2024. President of the UN Security Council in October of 2021. Special envoy. Remember the statement he made on the Ukraine-Russia situation?
Yes, I remember.
Special envoy for countering violent extremism for the president in Kenya. Director, National Counterterrorism Center, as well as permanent rep, that is permanent representative, UNEP and UN Habitat. His academic credentials read as such. He has an MA and PhD in War Studies from the King's College London and a BA Philosophy from the University of New Hampshire. I'm not sure I pronounced that last one right. Did
New
I?
Hampshire, yeah, you're fine. New Hampshire's fine. Yeah,
Good. So you want to go first?
Well, we've blown so much smoke up his skirt. Is he going to be able to answer any questions now?
I was worried where that was going.
Karibu Balozi, good to see you.
Great seeing you. Thank you.
Okay. So look, this AU chairmanship, Balozi, and you know, it could go anywhere. We don't know which way it's going to go. But we have to ask you, you've been in this business. You've been there before. So we ask you, what are Raila Odinga's chances?
Oh, thanks, Jeff and Olive. It's great to speak to you. His chances are good. He's a strong candidate. He has the Kenyan government behind him. The Eastern African region needs to produce one candidate. So far, that's not been possible. So he's going to have to compete for the position. And like you said at the top of this segment, the Djiboutian foreign minister is probably his strongest opponent. You will recall that Djibouti was competing with Kenya for the elective seat to the Security Council 3 years ago, and it was extremely difficult winning for Kenya. So this is going to be a rehash of that competition. He has a good chance, but he has an equally good chance of missing the spot because the Djiboutian foreign minister is coming with a lot of experience and strong endorsements from regional organizations.
So what would this chairmanship mean for Kenya? We went after it in 2017. Musa Faki, to use a Kenyan colloquial term, alipita katikati yao, Amina and the Senegalese candidate. But why would this be critical for Kenya?
Well, the chairperson of the commission does not represent Kenya. And in fact, any real show of promoting Kenyan interests would not be taken well. and the chairperson would come under considerable pressure. So I'm not sure that Kenya is going to, in itself, win anything out of the chairing, other than the prestige of having one of its citizens heading the African Union Commission. Now, of course, Kenya is seeking this position not due to technocratic reasons, but due to political ones. Kenya wants to promote Raila Odinga because of his political profile, because of our internal political dynamics. And so him going to the African Union, I think, will be a considerable victory for him on a personal level. It'll be an indication of the Ruto administration's ability to win a continental race, something which Kenya has struggled to do since we won the non-permanent position in the Security Council. And it'll profile our diplomacy and its ability to get results continentally.
Balozi, at the end of the day, and you've spent time on the continent, does it boil down to anglophone and francophone votes? Is that what it boils down to?
It boils down to the determination of the states backing these candidates, their ability to wield leverage and put financial resources into the race. The fact of the matter is that there's going to be strong opposition to Raila's candidature. The Organization of Islamic Conference has endorsed the Djiboutian foreign minister. He is counting on the francophone, anglophone divide. You have 27 African members of the Organization of Islamic Conference. You have 26 or so countries that identify as francophone. 18 are both francophone and OIC members. I would assume a significant number, if not all of that number, is going to back the Djiboutian foreign minister. Then you will have the candidate Raila's stances are very Pan-Africanist. And one of those has been the endorsement and strong support for Sahrawi and its quest for self-determination. And that automatically comes with a strong opposition from countries such as Morocco, who will lend their weight to other candidates who can counter that.
The last bid Kenya made in 2017 quite literally ended in tears. Do you think that there are lessons Raila's campaign team can take from that experience?
Well, first, I wish Honorable Raila all the very best. I think he is such a strong candidate. But what a job to look out to go and get. This is a brutal job, unlike any other job he has probably ever done before. Also, unlike any other job any of the other candidates has ever done before. You have countries that have had unconstitutional changes of government across the Sahel, from Guinea, from the west of Africa to the east of Africa and Sudan is a coup belt. You have terrorist groups, you have possible war between Egypt and Ethiopia over the Nile. You have insurgencies in the DRC, in Mozambique. And in each one of these conflicts, the commission chairperson is going to have to provide some level of technical and political leadership. It will be exhausting. And the question is whether Kenya is going to support this candidature, not just with the political support now, but by seconding experienced officers or experienced diplomats to the chairperson's office. This is what other countries have done, most notably South Africa during the time of Madam Zuma's chairing. So Kenya is going to need to invest considerable resources if they want Raila to be a winning chairperson.
And of course,
Raila is going to want to. Yeah.
Sorry, but of course, it helps if you can speak the language of the continent, right? The official languages, French, English, Arabic, which, you know, Baba is kind of lacking in those, huh?
Well, he may be lacking in French, but what he has is political fortitude. And a lot of the problems that are happening around Africa right now need a chairperson who has the strength to take the pressure and to chart the right course. And so Raila is many things, but he is not politically a person who shrinks before the task. He is ready to look eyeball to eyeball to the dozens of pretty tough characters who are perpetrating conflicts all over the continent. If he can bring to the job a straight spine and a real strength of principle, which I think he can, then he has the potential to be a standout African Union Commission chairperson.
And it's true, he may not, be multilingual, such as the Djibouti candidate, but unlike the other three candidates, he has a political background. The rest, I think two of them are former foreign affairs ministers, and one, the Djibouti candidate, is serving. But can we trust those who have vocalized their support of Raila Odinga when the rubber meets the road? Because in 2017, there were murmurings that Uganda abandoned Kenya on that course.
This is a secret ballot. In diplomacy, you can never trust an endorsement until the vote is given. In fact, many of those promising votes will probably vote differently because they're driven by very different interests, and some of them run counter to what they perceive to be Kenya's interest in this election. Make no mistake, Kenya has many friends, but Kenya also has rivals, and Kenya has charted a course of such diplomatic independence over the last few decades that we have sometimes stepped on toes that we may have been better served not to step on if we were not operating under our principles and our interests. So I would not trust those endorsements, nor would I really give a lot of trust to the flash and the noise of Kenyan campaigns. You will always observe Kenyan campaigns are the loudest campaigns in the African Union. Other countries, like the last time, did you hear anything from Chad? Did you hear anything about the Chadian candidate who later won? Not at all. This will not be won on the airways. It will not be won with press conferences. It will be won in the offices of ministers of foreign affairs and heads of state.
And you're a veteran diplomat, Balozi. You've been there. You've been on the ground. You've seen what it's like. And when Olive talks about the candidature of Amina Muhammad, that was almost a given. Everybody almost knew, and you were around then. I mean, everyone almost knew she was going to get that job. And last minute, she didn't get it. What does that say?
What an incredibly...
Go on.
Yeah, what an incredibly gifted diplomat Amina is. Amina is one of the people who I've worked for it's impossible to say no to her. So it would have been amazing for her to be the chairperson. She lost the race simply because money was put into the right hands at the right moment. Kenya did not do it. Others did it.
And how important is it to have a nation rally around a candidate? One of the concerns that has been raised about all four candidates is how well they can connect with Gen Z. Gen Z showed us how much they can shake things up with the protests in June. How much of an important factor is reaching out to that demographic?
It is absolutely irrelevant to how the vote will turn out. And that is part of the problem of the African Union in its inability to connect with young Africans. And so it gives the appearance of old men speaking for young people. And so the reaching out to Gen Z is not itself going to affect the vote, but Gen Z is interested in this election. And I have seen Kenyan Gen Z speaking openly and with great passion about Kenya's politics and what they mean for this African Union election. I don't think that's going to sway the votes out there, but I would think that if Honorable Raila wins, he should institute a very, very strong youth engagement policy and think of his constituency not just as 55 member states, but also the billion or so people of Africa, and especially young ones. How can he do that? His team needs to look like the continent. His team needs young Africans in it who bring all the technological skill, the passion, the openness that he will need to be able to reach out. In a lot of these countries that are in conflict, the African Union is not felt. The African Union is a guy in a suit flying in to have secret conversations with the people that you're opposed to. that's going to need to change a bit.
So is this whole Mjadala Africa, the debate that is supposed to happen between the candidates, window dressing?
Yes, I think that's window dressing. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Look, diplomats go to great lengths to try and show that their world has levels of transparency, but of course it doesn't. Diplomacy is an elite business that hides its true intent. And so they will debate, but even in that debate, they'll be busy mouthing platitudes. No one will vote because of the platitudes. People will vote because of their interests. And what are their interests? Their interests are regime security, the maintenance of relations with global powers who have an interest in this election, gaining financial incentives for individuals and institutions, and assessing how a Raila or a Yusuf chairmanship is going to affect their specific interests. So whether that is in Sahrawi or on Gaza or on Ukraine, there's going to be lots of interest. And so this debate, which will be, very polite, will have a lot of good sound bites, will not in itself decide anything in the summit.
I don't know. How much of an influence do foreign powers have in this election?
Considerable, because the African Union, I think, is one of the world's most important organizations. Even though it is usually criticized for being weak, the African Union has a great deal of geopolitical relevance. So the position of the member states, and to the extent to which the chairperson of the commission rallies the voice or engages in ways that can help direct the African Union's actions or statements in one way or another, means that the African Union stance in Ukraine, is it for Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity, or for Russia's claims of its security being threatened by NATO? On what side will the commission fall? When it comes to North Africa, the rivalries and conflicts going on there along the Nile. So the major powers are going to take a considerable interest in the chairperson, and not just a remote interest, but a financial and political one.
Good point, Balozi. Okay, we cannot let you go without asking you about Kenya's position in the world. You're at that listening point there in New York City. First of all, President Ruto was there a few months ago. He spent time at the White House. He got a great visit over there, a great welcoming. And of course, Kenya's police officers, 1,000 of them, in Haiti as we speak. Kenya's position out there, what do they think of us?
Well, that's a really complex question to answer. Had I been a diplomat, I'd have answered it, in a very subtle and opaque way. But to be very direct, Kenya has considerable political prestige, but Kenya, what to do with that prestige is a whole other bag. It's a whole other business. And so Kenya, for the last few months, has been completely distracted by its internal dynamics. Kenya is trying to focus on its fiscal crisis. Kenya is trying to focus on the Gen Z challenge. That is where Kenya is. Kenya is talking to itself right now. And the extent to which Kenya understands what it wants out of the world, I think right now what Kenya wants out of the world is some economic relief and perhaps investment. But Kenya is well considered. Kenya is respected, but Kenya is right now not focused on its foreign policy as its leading agenda.
You didn't mention about Haiti. Good thing, bad thing?
Well, let me first, just before getting into Haiti, let me say one of the things Kenya has traditionally done really, really well is mediation of conflict in our region. It means that Kenya has a considerable store of experience and excellence in these areas. I am waiting to see how Kenya makes use of that experience and excellence. I know there are Kenyans in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, at the Kenya Mission, who are champions, who are experts on files that Raila will need to deal with. Where are they? Are they engaged in this campaign? Not just a campaign, but the preparations. They need to be. There are not that many people who understand Sudan in Kenya the way 3 or 4 of the people in government right now do. So they need to be engaged. On Haiti, Kenya has stretched a great deal. This actually did not start the other day under President Ruto. It actually started when we were in the Security Council and President Kenyatta pledged to support Haiti, not by sending police or troops, but rather by raising the profile of our engagement with Haiti and the Caribbean. And then President Ruto came up and took that baton and really ran with it. What has happened since then? Our men and women are on the ground. They're doing a good job, but they have not been given sufficient support by the international community. The United States has given some support, but the trust fund in New York has $21 million. What they are being asked to do is not fair on them or on Kenya. They need to be supported, and Haiti needs to be brought peace and security adequately, not on the cheap. And what is happening, if you look at the kind of resources that the international community, and in brackets, that means the West, are expending in Europe on Ukraine, expending on supporting Israel, and you compare that to the amount that they are using to support the MSS mission to Haiti, it is a scandal. And perhaps the Kenyan diplomats and diplomacy is too polite to say it openly, but they should be outraged. Our people should be well supported. They should be in the right equipment. They should be able to hold ground that they take, and they should be given exceptional facilitation and support. They deserve it because we have sent some of our best to Haiti. Can they do it? Absolutely. The Kenyan police that we have sent are more than up to the task. But it's not enough for us to rhetorically say that. We have to say if they're up to the task, their equipment and their facilitation needs to also be up to the task. I don't think that is being said enough, and I think it needs to be said more. If we are a non-NATO ally, of the United States, what does that mean for the Haiti mission? What does that mean in putting our men and women at risk without them having the right equipment? Where are the air assets? Where are the right assets for them to succeed? Kenya is also going to need to be clearer about what winning in Haiti means. I think there's such a misalignment in what people understand to be the end state of our deployment in Haiti. It needs to be clarified and it needs to be minimized. Kenya cannot solve Haiti's problems. Kenya and the MSS can only provide some room for the Haitians to take up their political responsibilities to have a proper election and erect a proper state. Kenya cannot do that for them. The maximized expectations of Kenya will lead to us being perceived as having failed. We need to be clear about what winning in Haiti means.
I'm so glad you're not a diplomat anymore, Mr. Ambassador. You just called it like you see it.
Kenyans deserve to know.
Ambassador Martin Kimani, good to talk to you as always, and all the very best. Good luck out there, and keep talking, and we'll engage you real soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Olive.
All right, on that note, we're going to take another break here on Sunday Live and let you know we still have our weekly feature, Citizen Planet, coming up.
Coming up.
Yep, and stay tuned for that. In the meantime, what are your thoughts? Keep tweeting at Konanga Jeff.
At Burrows, at Citizen TV Kenya.
The hashtag is Sunday Live. Sunday Live takes a break. We'll be back in the meantime. Coming up.
Coming up on our weekly environmental segment, we tell you how the fear of a curse is saving Onchore Luntare forest in Narok from loggers.